Good morning and welcome to the LX User Group webinar. Appreciate everybody taking the time to join us this morning. This is Brian White. I'm the Director of IT at Red Gold and the LX User Group Board President. Also here today is Dave Rapacz with Infor, the LX Product Manager. On the agenda today, we'll have a welcome introductions, discussion about the IBMI Education Initiative, which includes the LX concepts and applications coming soon, which we look forward to. Discussion around the Enhancement Request System, reminder about inPower, and some discussion around what's coming up for inPower. Dave, if you want to say anything in regards to the kickoff here, go ahead, and otherwise, go ahead and get started with the Education Initiative.
Yeah, thanks, Brian, and good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. So one of the things we do know is that many of our customers were educated on the BPICS or LX application many years ago. And one of the things that we used for that was concepts and applications, which was a high-level course. We'll talk about that in a minute. But also, we do know there's other education requirements that you have as well. So we're going to talk a little bit more about things we can provide to you to help educate your users, your teams, etc. And it includes also things like documentation. So where are we with our education initiative? Well, first off, one of the big things we've introduced to the LX application over the years was the IDF architecture. So now on Infor U, which is a platform that we use at Infor to provide training for all of our products, on that Infor U, which stands for Infor University, we do have an IDF end user customization class, and that is a virtual training, instructor led. So it's not self-taught, but there's an instructor that you would engage with over a period of 5 days for half a day each day. There are exercises and things like that where you go through and get real hands-on experience in using IDF or end user customization. And we offer that every other month or so, depending on demand. And we'll get into a little bit how you register for that in a minute. The second initiative then was, finding ways to also enable people without education. So there's without formal education or reminders or whatever is needed to kind of enable people to do certain tasks within IDF. So we did record 40 videos that give people a way to see how these things work in a very short video clip. We produced 40 of those. There's a link here that you'll get where you can go see those 40. But we've also created another 40 since then, and they will be embedded into the product in the future, right? So making it easier for people to consume that information, have access to that information. So you'll see here that there is 40 new videos that will be coming out in a future build of the IDF application. So the next time, I shouldn't say the next time, but later this year, when you install an update to the IDF architecture, these videos will be included within that. And then IDF Foundation for Developers, right? So the first IDF class we mentioned there is really for end users, how to navigate and kind of build your own, displays, so to speak. Then there is this more for, as you may know, Enterprise Integrator is the development toolkit where you can build your own applications. So we built a similar Infor University class there as well for that type of training, and that is now available. And I think we have one actually coming up next week. If you're still interested in doing that, you can register, and I'll show you where to register for that in a little bit. And we are then another class for IDF Foundation for Developers too. So this is a little bit more deeper, kind of phase 2 of that education is under development. This little indicator up here on the right is kind of give you an idea where we are with building that content, but there is going to be a next level of IDF developer training that we are working on that will come in the future. And then we also want to modernize the help, right? One of the things that we do know is that it's important for you to be able to add your own help and make sure that help is readily available, searchable, it's contextual, you have that help where you need it, when you need it. So a lot of things there to modernize that help. But I think the key thing there is also to create your own. So for instance, in LX842, you now maintain vendors, for instance, in IDF. And having help for all the LX required fields and what they do is important. But you as an individual company probably have some very specific rules about how you want certain attributes to be used, especially your own attributes. If you've added attributes through IDF to those business objects, you're going to want to be able to give information to the end user about how those attributes will be used. So that is another thing we're doing, is to modernize that IDF help. And then lastly, the big one here is concepts and applications. So if you took this class years ago through SSA, this is the evolution of that class for LX842. There's a ton of content here. I looked at it in depth the other day. There's 810 pages of instruction and exercises that gets very detailed, but not the deepest of everything in the application, but it does cover quite a bit of content end to end in the ERP, with exercises and hands-on learning. And we anticipate that we'll be able to execute this in 6-hour sessions, which will take about a week to be able to do. So that is where we are right now. The content is all done. We are in the process of fine-tuning how we're going to deliver it, how long it's going to take to deliver it, and making sure that the content and the presenters are fully enabled to deliver that material. It's a lot of content, but it is done, and you can see up here again in the top right that we're saying it's nearly complete. It's just now more of a matter of us completing that instructor enablement and making it available to you to sign up and take. So just gets a little bit more detail of what's in that LX concepts and applications class, right? So it really does cover, I think the first thing I want to point out here is really navigating the new UI, right? So it is all about deploying LX in a web-based UI with SIW and IDF and WebTop. So how to navigate the system is a key part of that in day one, to understand how the new UI works, how to access the menus, find programs, etc. But then we go into the various areas of the applications, right? And really kind of get into how they interact with each other, right? So, inventory is kind of the first key thing in an ERP system, is defining your items. With your items, obviously, you have bills of materials. Those bills of materials are either going to be manufactured. I'm sorry, those items are either going to be manufactured or purchased. So we get into things like that. And as you can see, we go through day to day, how it unwinds and unravels more towards at the end getting into finance, and obviously every customer order, every purchase order, etc., has a financial impact. So paying vendors, collecting cash from customers, order fulfillment, all ends up in the general ledger at some point, and that's kind of where we wrap up. So it does go from start to finish throughout the entire ERP system. Again, not all the way to every feature function that's available in the application, but does provide a comprehensive overview of the ERP end to end. And that's the title, Concepts and Applications, is exactly what it is, right? Conceptually understanding what Infor LX is, what it can do, and how it can work for your business is the goal of that class. And in the end, you will get that material, right? So if you take this class, the PDF documents that we use as part of the training material, that 810 pages I mentioned, is something you would get in soft copy for you to use for future reference. So it's been a long road getting here. I wish we had the class we could register for today, but we are getting very close to that. And like I said, the content is done, and it's a lot of really great content. So we look forward to making it available to you very soon. And this is what it will look like, right? So if you do want to take one of these courses, you go to education.infor.com. When you get there, you would click on the course catalog. And then when you get the course catalog, you would put in here IDF. And when you do, you'll see these 2 IDF courses I mentioned earlier, right? Again, the basic one for end users, as well as the one here for developers to learn how to build your own business objects within IDF in your own applications. So the same thing will be the same capability will be there for the LX class. You'll find it the same way by searching LX and getting to the concepts and applications. When you click on it, it will show you the dates that it's available and gives you the ability then to register for that course. So if you haven't, if you do need IDF training and you haven't taken one of these classes, I encourage you to start thinking about where this fits into your schedule and seeing if one of these classes is something that you're ready to partake in. So the other thing, just quickly, so that's, education. Education comes in a lot of forms. It's a form of getting information and learning how the application works. There's a lot of other forms of things where you can get information on the LX product, and I just kind of want to share a little bit of that here again as a reminder. So there is something called Information Documentation Central. This is at docs.infor.com. I don't know why I didn't put that in here, but there's a link for it here. We'll show these presentations later on. So there's some user and administration documents there. So some security guides, the CEA ATP guide is in there. Run instructions, if you're not familiar with those, they are a high-level overview of every module in the application, right? So a little bit different than the concepts and applications we're going to provide in terms of kind of really outlining the way an application works and how it's intertwined with the other applications, where this is, hey, if I really want to understand what the OLM module does and how I could potentially use it, or how, let's say a QMS module works and the features it has and the capabilities it provides, these run instructions can be very valuable. And I'm just getting a quick overview of its capabilities, but then it gets also very granular in terms of screen by screen, what the screen does and what the values within it provide. So if you haven't looked at those and you're kind of wondering what a particular module's capabilities are, it's a good place to get started. Also, installation and technical references are there. Integration documentation is also at Infor Documentation Central. So if you haven't explored that, I mean, it's just a good place to go out there and see kind of what's available from a documentation standpoint. We also have quite a bit of documentation on Concierge and ServiceNow, so I don't want to neglect those. So if you're wondering, going from one release to the next, what you're going to get in terms of new feature function, these are documented there as well. There's a KB article, and if you look up that KB, you will see LX 840, 841, 842 release notes, as well as some of the things regarding database changes there as well. And then for older BPIX versions, let's say you're coming from BPIX 8.2, or let's say BPIX 8.0, and you want to know it was an 8.1 and 8.2, and all the way up through 8.4, you would need to look up both of these KB articles to get all the release notes relevant to the releases that you're going to be upgrading to. So we don't have a cumulative documentation. There's reasons for that I won't get into, but you would need to look at these in their entirety to understand all the feature functions from the release you're upgrading to LX 8.4. There's also this KB, which is a master bulletins and announcements, right? So with this KB points to other KBs where you get very specific information about maybe whether it's operating system or database or things like that. It's a good KB to follow because as we make changes and up to certifications of certain things, this is where that will become known to you. And then lastly, the product lifecycle policy. I hope everybody's aware of this by now. It's on my email signature as well. I want to make sure that everybody knows we do have a formal product lifecycle policy for the LX product available at this KB that tells you what, for each release level, the level of support you can expect from Infor based on whether it's in mainstream, extended, or sustaining maintenance. So just wanted to share that. I know, the focus here was on education, but I think education is making sure you have access to this kind of information as well. So just a reminder that we do have this content here for you when you are ready to look at it.
I just want to reiterate, we really appreciate Infor's efforts to work on the education component and making the LX concepts and applications available. Obviously all of our companies have went through some retirements and things like that, and it's really important to build the next level of power users and help people understand the breadth of functionality that Infor LX has available. So we really look forward to being able to participate in this kind of education.
I appreciate that, Brian. And yeah, I know, the be honest, that the board has really been instrumental in pushing Infor to do this, right? It's a big investment for us, and I don't think it would have happened if we didn't have the push from the board, and it's an important thing for us to do. And I wish we had it done sooner, but it is coming to conclusion, and I'm glad that we're finally getting to that point where we're delivering this, because I think we've heard the importance of it. As you mentioned, as people retire and needing to grow a new workforce that understands the application, not just the tasks that they do, but really understand how it all relates and comes together. As their businesses change, they need to know what's available to them to change how it's implemented. And this is a big step in providing that type of information to people so they can make proper decisions. So thank you. So then let's get into the Enhancement Request System. We've done webinars on this on and off over the years, and just kind of want to come back to it again because it really is important. I take great comfort in knowing our customers have great ideas, and for me just to develop and set the roadmap, in a black box doesn't make sense, right? Getting your thoughts as a customer, as a user, as a supporter of your businesses is really critical for me in defining the roadmap going forward. So, and that's what this Enhancement Request System is all about. So it is a platform that really does provide you the ability to not only put an idea out there, but to also collaborate with your peers, right? So this is a public platform. If you put in an idea, it will be seen by others. Others can comment whether they think that's a good idea or a bad idea for whatever reason. Again, it is a very constructive way of sharing information and ideas, and it does help shape the future of the product. So when we talk about these, a couple things come into play, right? So when I see them, thinking about, considering whether or not we're going to do it, when we're going to do it, how do we do it, a couple things come into play. First, the size and scale, right? I'm not saying we're not going to do the big things. It just depends. The big things are going to have to be planned a little bit more different than, let's say, something that's small that we can develop rather quickly. So say size and scale is just something that is something we look at just to understand where it fits into the roadmap. Value, right? So really, if we do it, really, how much benefit does it provide? Is it something that is going to really transform the product or the user experience, or give great efficiency somewhere within the business? Also fit. So sometimes it may be specific to a certain industry or a certain type of business. There's a lot of things that go into this. Some companies are global, some companies are not, right? So sometimes if it's an area that has to do with something that has global implication, may not benefit every customer, but may still be important. So we look at that fit and determine what percentage of customers are really going to benefit from it. The impact, this is a big one, right? Because what we want to do is anything that is disruptive that we deliver to you that may have a negative impact if you're not prepared for it, is something that we will not do at the 8.4.2 release. So just so everybody understands, today 8.4.2 is our most current release of the product. And since it was released last year, I don't have the numbers in front of me. I should. I think we've delivered nearly 40 enhancements to 8.4.2 since it was released, and we will continue to deliver these enhancement requests in 8.4.2 as long as they're not disruptive. That is the key. We cannot deliver a disruptive change in the 8.4.2. So if there is some great idea for an enhancement and it would require us to deliver it in a non-disruptive way, which means that we deliver it in a release. Then 843, 85, whatever that would be, means it will be deferred until we get enough of those disruptive changes that make it worthwhile for us to cut a release of the product. In the meantime, we really do want to focus on delivering as many enhancements as we can in 842 on top of 842, because we believe that is better for you as customers, that you get incremental. If you're on 842, you get incremental value when you want to install those enhancements and implement them. And the other thing is, there are some that we do see that are occasionally rejected. And the reason why we reject them is just because maybe it doesn't align with our strategy. So for instance, I give an example here of INV 300 enhancement. INV 300 isn't being decommissioned, but we are not going to invest in INV 300 because we believe the IDF view of enterprise item with inventory and transaction history and everything else is a better solution. And if there's a gap there in the IDF solution, we will close that gap before we'll do an enhancement to the INV 300 application. So some inquiries that come, some ERs that come in related on these inquiry programs may get rejected because that capability could be added to the IDF inquiry. And then, of course, if it contradicts to our design concepts, right? We do need to make sure that, there's fundamental things within the application of how it works. If it kind of contradicts that and creates a downstream process issue, of course, there are things like that where we may also reject an ER. So these are the fundamental things in terms of how we decide what we develop and when we're going to deliver it. And so let's just talk about what we have developed, right? So we have developed 75 requests to date, and there are 9 currently under development. So we are actually at a point where we do have developers freeing up to do this kind of traditional, it's not just all traditional, but freeing up to develop traditional type application improvements in the core of the application. IDF development is pretty heavily booked right now. We don't have a lot of resources available for that, but for traditional type development, we do have some capacity freeing up. So while we have these 9 under development, there are 37 that are open still that we haven't committed to. There have been some that are archived. So just so you know, if something does not get votes, we periodically scrub that system, and ERs do get archived. And you can see those archives if you wish. And if there's one there that you are very compelled to want us to, or really want us to do, or passionate about it, reach out to me and we can reactivate something and see if it gets votes the second time around. But actively today there are 37, and there are only 2 that have 5 or more endorsements. So I do want to get into endorsements a little bit, right? Because your vote's important and it can have an impact on what we do and what we develop. So we really do want to see these endorsements. So let me explain the voting options for just a minute. First, endorse, right? So that's pretty obvious. You've read the enhancement request, you think it's a good idea, you'd like to see it done, give it a positive endorsement if you feel that way. The second, I'm going to come back to this. I'm going to change the order of this a little bit. I'm going to go back to then reject. And this is what you would do if for some reason you don't think it's a good idea, it's detrimental to the application. If you're neutral on it, don't reject it. That's what the acknowledge is for. If you read it and you say, I really don't care either way if this happens, then you should acknowledge it. And let me explain the importance of why it's important to acknowledge something. So if you imagine, I see one ER that has 5 endorsements and no acknowledgements. That leads me to believe that 5 people have read it and voted positively on it. But what if I saw that same ER where they had 5 endorsements and 50 acknowledgements? It paints a different picture. That tells me that of 55 people that read it, only 5 are interested in it. So it is really important that if you read an ER and you're kind of neutral on it, doesn't really provide you any particular value for your business, please acknowledge it, right? Because that's going to give me an idea. Then if I see something that has, a lot of endorsements and very few acknowledgements, That tells me the higher percentage of people have actually really like it, versus if we don't get those acknowledgments, it's really hard for me to gauge. So I encourage you, if you read an ER, do one of these three things. Don't do nothing. It's important that if you're neutral on it, you do acknowledge it. And then if you do vote on it, you're not required to put in a comment, but you can, and it can be very helpful, right? So, you know, if one person puts in an ER, you think it's a great idea, and then you maybe think, well, it'll also help, you know, in this way or that way that wasn't mentioned, or you know, you've got a design idea around it, put that in there, right? There's nothing wrong with adding your additional feedback, getting those creative juices flowing, getting that collaboration going across the community. I really do encourage you to add comments, but they aren't required. So go out to the Enhancement Request System. This is how you do it. You go into Concierge, and you click on the enhancement. There's a tab there to expand it. And if you click on the enhancement, you see where the mouse is there. When you do that, it will open up this list. Now, what you're probably going to want to do is filter by product line, right? So you don't want to see all the enhancements for all the products that you're not potentially using. This list should be subsetted for you based on what you're licensed to. But just so you know, that this is a key thing to look at, is to subset it by ERP-LX to see the LX enhancements. When you do that, the list will filter like you see it here, pretty obvious. You can export this as well and do it to Excel. Sometimes that's easier because you can see additional columns that make it a little bit more user-friendly to look at. So that is something to consider if you want to do it. There is an export option right here at the top right. And it will put it into Excel, where you can slice and dice it a little bit differently if you wish to do that. But if you find an ER in here and you read it, this is what what I was mentioning earlier, right? You've got three options: to endorse, to reject, or to acknowledge. Again, I strongly encourage you to acknowledge it. And again, you can also put in an explanation or a comment in terms of why you think it's important to you. So really important that we get our customers and end users to look at these. Just so you know, we only accept one vote by company, right? We don't. If somebody comes in and has everybody in their company put a vote on something, and we see 50 votes coming from one company, it still will, from a stand of prioritization, it'll be viewed as one vote. But if you do have people within your organization that have ideas or comments, I do encourage you to kind of gather that throughout your organization to give us the best feedback possible. So that's how you vote on it. So that's the first thing, right? So these ERs are out there. There's 37 of them, whatever I said earlier, that are open, that you can go out and vote on. We encourage you to read those, give your feedback. If you don't have any opinion on it, again, encourage you to use the acknowledge feature. If you want to go out and create a new request for an enhancement, so again, you have this bottom one, which is showing you the list. Here is what you click on if you wish to create an enhancement, and you will get this screen here that will pop up. And I'm going to focus just quickly here on this product line, because this is important to understand how this works. So again, you're only going to have access to the product lines you're licensed to, but for typically, I just kind of want to explain which ones to use and when, because there's two distinctions here that I want to kind of point out. So when to use LX? So it's obviously, for anything in accounts receivable. So whether it's supply chain, manufacturing, or financial module, that's where that belongs, is in LX, as well as our sys functions, right? So things related to any of the sys apps in LX as well. You can also use this for WebTop. So if you have an idea for WebTop that you'd like to see done, you can use it for that. You can use it for IDF business objects. I'll make a distinction here, right? So if you've got something that with the vendor object you don't like, that was you wish it had or it did differently, this belongs in the ERP-LX product line. If you wish we built a new business object over a particular file, that belongs in the product line of ERP-LX. It is not intended to be used for IDF architecture enhancements, right? So is an idea here, right? There's an ER for IDF, which is provide the ability to get subtotals on an IDF view, right? So if we look at an IDF view, you can get totals at the bottom for every record that's being displayed. But let's say you wanted to see a subtotal when the company number changes, for instance, or then we cannot do that in the view. We can do it in an export. You can export it to Excel and get those subtotals, but you can't do it directly in the view. So that would be an architectural improvement that you would be suggesting, and that really belongs under the system-wide common product line. So system-wide common product line is for enhancements related to SIW or SIM. For architectural enhancements, like I just mentioned, you should not be using it for IDF objects, like I mentioned up here. That belongs in the ERP. But the exception to that is for EGLI and CRM. So EGLI and CRM are common applications used by LX, XA, and System 21. So if you have ideas there, that does belong in the system-wide common, not in the actual LX product area. And then lastly, there are a couple other fields here. These are not critical. Don't get overly concerned about these. There's the product. Again, so product would be, if you put in LX, you'd have products such as accounts payable, accounts receivable, costing. That would be the product. The release is the release that we're only doing these in 8.4.2. So that's really your only release that you should put in there, because that's where it's going to be developed. We do make exceptions from time to time. If you do want something in 8.4.1, put it in there as 8.4.1, and we'll look at it and consider whether or not it can be done for 8.4.1. And then lastly, the request type. So the request type is just whether it's industry requirement or innovation or whatever that may be. But these are not critical. Just choose what you think is appropriate. Those aren't critical things to get right. What is critical is the product line, as I mentioned before, so it ends up in the right place, so the right person sees it in reviewing it. So then we'll get into just briefly best practices for doing ERs, right? So there's a short title that we start off with, and the idea here is just to give people kind of quickly capture their attention. What is it that you want to do? Because somebody's going to read that and make a determination. Again, if I go back to a prior screen here, what you see here is the title, right? And if this isn't effective, you're probably not going to get the person to read it further and vote on it, right? So when we talk about getting a good title, make sure you do kind of have to give it an idea of what it's about, but make sure it captures the attention of the reviewer or voter so that they read further. The description is provide a description that really makes sense, right? We don't want to get too technical. It's not because you're not going to get votes if you get too technical. You want to explain the business problem that you're trying to solve, the value it provides, why it's important. That's where you want to focus, because that, again, is going to capture the attention of other people in determining whether or not they really want to vote for this or not. So if you don't describe the benefit or the business problem that it solves, and you just say, add this field for something, or it doesn't tell anybody why you want it, what does it provide, why would Infor do this? If you say add this field for this value, for this purpose, because we do this and it would help with that, now you've got something that people will understand to determine, whether or not it's important to their business and they vote on it. So also explain a negative impact by not having this functionality. What is it doing? Is it creating inefficiency? So explain those things as well, right? The lack of it is something that really is important as well. Lastly, or not lastly, second to last, workaround. If you're aware of a workaround, please share it, right? I mean, somebody may read this and didn't think about something they could do, but, also if that workaround is cumbersome, explain to us why, right? Because we may think that there's an easy way, well, just do this instead and you'll get the same results. Well, if that takes, 3 people to do that 2 hours a day versus, something that would be 15 minutes, that we understand as well, right? So explain to us if there's a reason why that workaround is too cumbersome or ineffective. And then lastly, attachments, right? A picture paints 1,000 words, right? We always say that, and it's true, right? So if you can show an image of something, whether it's a mock-up or something, that you can see visually on a screen and what you're thinking, If you've got a customization and you want to show that custom screen and you're suggesting this customization be put into the product as a standard feature, share that, right? Because that will help get people to understand what you're looking for and potentially get higher adoption and votes or higher acknowledgments and votes on the actual ER.
Again, I think the fact that Infor is making the investment in education and is looking for new things to do in 8.4 and beyond, again, shows the continued viability of Infor LX. And I think that's an important thing to, take note of. And it's really up to us as the customers to participate in this and to let our ideas be known. A couple other real quick best practices I'll throw out would be there is an opportunity where you can subscribe to an enhancement request. So as you put that in, you can subscribe, and then you'll get like an email that will, as anybody puts a comment or as that moves through the different stage gates, you'll see that happen. Checking back in on your requests is also important because somebody might comment on it and have a question. So if you can, whether that be an Infor person or whether that be another customer, so do check back in on your enhancement requests. And the other thing I'd point out is using the Work Out Loud platform. So in other words, our user group platform to socialize your enhancements. So if you have something you're really passionate about, go ahead and put a post out on Work Out Loud and explain it there as well, and put a link so that people can more easily get to the voting and encourage others to vote and why to vote. So we've got the platform. So again, try to use that platform, to your benefit.
Great point, Brian. Right, because not everybody maybe monitors the ERS system, and so certainly using Work Out Loud is a great way to socialize. We've seen people do that, and it's a great way to get attention and a dialogue going beyond the ERS system regarding your request. And the subscribe, great point. I should have mentioned that, right? Because that is, as people add comments, or even if Infor, has something, that's how you're going to find out whether something's been done with it. So I did a number of updates last night. I realized there were some ERs that we had done that I didn't close out. And so I'm guessing people that did subscribe last night or got notification last night that their ER was actually completed. So I need to do that more timely, but they do get notification that way in terms of when their ER has either been accepted or completed if you subscribe. So good point.
All right. So inPower 25 is going to be upon us here before we know it. So, we're definitely looking forward to the upcoming inPower. The team has put a lot of effort into coming up with the planning for the event and the sessions and the activities and the sponsors and so forth. So we're really excited about this inPower being our best inPower, to date. So that is coming up 9/22 to 9/25 in Pewaukee, Wisconsin, like it has been in the last several years. So why would you want to attend? This really is the premier education opportunity for Infor LX customers, with the bonus of the rest of the tech stack as well. A unique networking opportunity. So with other LX customers, IBMI peers, sponsors that are focused on this area, and of course access to the key Infor resources like Dave and his peers that are relevant to the IBMI ERP ecosystem there at Infor. Reviewing the ERSs prior to coming, just gives you those opportunities to build that relationship with Dave and convince the others as to why your idea is important and so forth. So I think that's one of the key benefits is that networking and relationship building that takes place at this event. This addresses pressing challenges that we're all currently facing. So if you think about modernization, moving away from the green screen, evaluating cloud options, IBMI and Infor are going to have some presentations around artificial intelligence, AI. So, we need to understand, where their direction is, both from an IBMI standpoint or from an IBM standpoint and an Infor standpoint. Extending the value out of our existing investments, I think, is important to all of us in these times that we're in. And then, of course, talent development and talent productivity. There's sessions that address all of these pressing challenges. So, if you're having these challenges, then I think that coming to the event, you'll take something away from the event to address these. If you're not sure, feel free to reach out to Dave or I, and we'll be glad to share our opinions and thoughts on why you should attend. Go ahead. Next slide, Dave.
Yeah, just quickly that, the resources are a key thing, right? You even commented, Brian, that just some of the conversations that don't even happen in the sessions, right, on a bus to, going to an event or having a snack with somebody, like Mark Larson, for instance, who is our lead architect on the LX product. He's there just to have conversations and collaborate and ask questions, pick his brain. It's an opportunity to engage with also Lisa Kasabian, who is head of support and development. So it's just a chance to engage in a way that you never otherwise could. So I think that's a key point there, Brian.
So we do have the URL here so that you can learn more about it if you haven't already went to the website to explore it. One key difference of this year, the Monday, in the past we called that EIUG Day. We're calling it Tech Day now, and it's much expanded upon its original focus, primarily just on IDF and Enterprise Integrator. So it still covers those things, but we're getting more into workshop format, so it's really as hands-on as possible on that Monday. So we're having workshops on extending and customizing your ERP via the Enterprise Integrator. That's going to be a 2-part, 5-hour hands-on. Also for some of these other areas like Intro to Infor Development, IDF, NetLink for beginners. That's going to be a 3-hour session. Infor OS, a box of Legos, part 1 and 2. I think a lot of people struggle with just understanding, what all Infor OS is and what it can do and how it fits in with Infor LX. So this will be a great way to really help people understand the overall, as the title, the box of Legos. So what are all these parts that fit together to form the solutions that are possible now? A lot of people also have lost talent in IBMI. So we, heard that and worked with IBM to make sure that that's being addressed on this Monday Tech Day. So DB2 for IBMI SQL, really getting in from a technical standpoint on what the DB2 embedded database on the IBMI can do for you. Navigating the IBMI systems administration and management. Some organizations have lost their IBMI administrator, so it's time to develop new talent there, and this is one opportunity to do that. There'll also be a open lab, so I think there's approximately 20 kind of exercises that people can go through in that lab. So that would be a great way to explore what's possible there. If you happen to be there Monday and none of this interests you, then there will also be a theory of constraints workshop focusing on the theory of constraints. Anything to add there, Dave?
No, I think this is a day like this where you really get an opportunity to immerse in some of these tools and not just sit in a brief 1-hour session. It does you a chance to get deeper and get really a better understanding. And I think the one here too, that it did start off more as an enterprise integrator years ago, and now trying to just make sure we're covering every part of the technology, and part of that is the operating system. And I think IBM's commitment to this event is not just on Monday for this part here, but throughout the week. They've got great sessions all week, but providing this session on Monday, I think is really something that is important for our customers as they're, as you mentioned, losing resources that are fluent in IBMI operating system. This is a great way to regrow that.
Okay, so from an LX content standpoint, that's really the focus of Tuesday, Wednesday, and half day Thursday. We do have 2 rooms that are focused on LX content. So we'll be covering the roadmap, what's new in 8.4.2, upgrade advice from customers and service partners, advice on moving away from the green screen, Getting more out of your support investment will be covered. Traditionally we've had the LX community gathering, so an opportunity to meet the other users that are at the conference, and really that's kind of where we start off after the roadmap session, is get together as a group and meet each other and really kind of plan for the conference to get the most out of it as we're there. There's going to be some case studies on the value of IDF and LX, digital transformation with LX, and Infor document management. So opportunity to hear from a couple customers there. And then the other benefit of coming to this is the sessions around providing feedback on the direction of Infor and LX specifically, but also some of the tech stack as well. So that's I think a key component or a key benefit of the conference itself. There'll be some sessions around EDI and also just integration that could be from a connector standpoint, electric extension, ION, APIs, etc. And then also, how does this all work together? We addressed that a little bit on Monday, but we'll be getting more into that Tuesday through Thursday. And then a focus on financials. So some sessions around AP, AR, best practices, costing, IDF for consultants, and there'll be some opportunity to learn about EGLI, which is basically CEA developed in IDF. Anything to add there, Dave?
Yeah, I think we're really trying to transition from this just being for IT resources, right? I mean, we know some of our customers have strong business leads in their IT organization that support, let's say, finance, and it's great for them to attend this. But there's also, some of this is meant for end users as well as business leads in finance, right? So if you're, a manager of a financial department, whether, that this is a great way to learn more about what we're doing and best practices and how to better leverage these applications. EGLI, as well, right, is a time to transition from the CEA, which is, basically still a green screen architecture, to something more modern with EGLI. So we really want to get, I think, it's a user group meeting, right? So it should have users or business leads in this, not just IT. So we encourage you to make sure that you're exposing key parts of your business, in particular financial resources, to this event this year.
All right, so there's also other great content in addition to LX content. So IBM is going to be there as well. So some of the leading IBMI thought leaders will be speaking about AI, advanced features of SQL, DB2, the systems administration, and that's not just Monday. They will be there throughout the rest of the conference, and we'll have some sessions to benefit you there as well. And the same with IDF and Enterprise Integrator and Infor OS. There will be opportunities, sessions that'll be taking place the rest of the week on those topics. And then also other things that Infor has to extend the ERP. So things such as Infor WMS, the EPM, CPQ, planning, scheduling, an AI session. So other good content. This is a few places where you can go and see so many vendors. There'll be over 30 sponsors that are focused on the IBMI and focused on working specifically with Infor LX or the other ERPs that are there. And oftentimes there is relevancy, even if it's maybe not directly working with LX, but the fact that they're on the IBMI can still be beneficial. So there's hardware, software services to support the IBMI and the Infor investment. That comes in really key, again, when there's if someone's lost their IBMI administrator, well, you can hire somebody to do that. You don't have to have them as an employee. And then a lot of people are hosting their IBMIs now, maybe moving them to a cloud. So it's a great place to learn about that. You can also learn about sponsors that are in output management. So in other words, turning your spool files into pretty output that can be sent to your customers and so forth in a variety of different ways. AP, AR, automation, tax compliance, logistics, barcoding, EDI, MES. So really some good sponsors, great opportunity to learn about what else is available. And like I say, there's few places you can go that you can get this concentration of those kind of people. Sponsors, and they will be in the sponsor hall, so you can interact them that way. There'll also be a number of morning coffee sessions start at 7:30. So for those early risers, you can show up and get the opportunity to meet with the vendors, and they'll be doing some quick 30-minute demos and descriptions of their solutions. And then there will also be vendor sessions that can be attended throughout the Tuesday through Thursday. So all of this, great education and networking, but there's also some fun in the evenings. So Monday night will be the welcome reception. So that's going to be 5:30 to 9. The solution fair will be open. So again, great opportunity for networking. Tuesday night, bacon and bourbon. So the bacon has been there for the last several years and has been a very popular item, and we keep getting requests. And so this time it's going to be a bacon and bourbon social. There'll be a band on Tuesday. There'll be outdoor games, food truck fair, and beer wagon. So a lot of fun to be had on Tuesday night. And then Wednesday night, a back to the 80s party, some retro arcade games, again, food, drinks, a DJ. So we really try to enjoy ourselves while we're there, and again get to know our peers and the folks at Infor. So here we have a QR code. Got the URL again if that's needed. So anything to add, Dave, before you move to the next?
No, yeah, I think this is a great event, right? We really encourage customers to attend. I think everybody that goes always comes back with very positive feedback, and they usually come back they're so surprised, right, that there's an ecosystem and a team of people there to support them, a new application around the ERP, whatever it may be, that there is a complete ecosystem and a community to surround them to make sure they're successful, and as well as the Infor account team as well that'll be there to make sure that their customers are getting all the information they can to ensure their success. So hope to see all of you there, and not just you, but also your peers in your organization. Invite your financial resources. I think they'll find it very enlightening. So hopefully we see more and more of you there this year. Looking forward to it.
So to wrap up, we are looking for feedback on what folks would like to see for future webinars. So certainly send those ideas to Dave or myself on any ideas for future webinars or any questions at all. We'll be glad to get back to you.
Yeah, we're always looking for ideas for future webinars, right? Just if you do have an idea of something, it can be, related to community, it could be related to the application, it could be really any topic is something we will consider for a webinar. So if you've got an idea, please share with us. But thank you for leading this session today. I appreciate the effort you put into it and the great content. It's really great content about inPower, and the value it can bring. So I know as well, not just this webinar, but the effort you and the rest of the board has put into building a great agenda and socializing it. None of this would happen if it wasn't for the LX board that enables so much of this. So I appreciate all the effort that you yourself and the board put into it.
Yeah, thanks, Dave, and certainly the same with you and your team. And appreciate everybody's time today. Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Thank you for joining.
Bye-bye.